Imagine a force so strong it can turn your world upside down in seconds. A force that can make you say things you don't mean, hurt the people you love, and leave you feeling awful afterward. That force is anger, and it's something we all face. But what if I told you there's a way to break free from anger's grip? A way that comes from ancient wisdom that's still powerful today? By the end of this video, you'll have the tools to change how you deal with anger forever. These tools come from Buddhist teachings, and they've helped countless people find peace, even when life gets tough. Now, let's talk about why anger is such a big problem. You might think anger only hurts the person you're mad at, but that's not true. Anger hurts us more than anyone else. It's like drinking poison and hoping the other person gets sick. When we're angry, our blood pressure goes up, our hearts race, and stress hormones flood our bodies. Over time, this can lead to serious health problems. But that's not all. Anger can ruin our relationships too. Think about the last time you got really mad at someone you care about. Did you say things you wish you could take back? Did you see the hurt in their eyes? Anger can create wounds that take a long time to heal, sometimes leaving scars on our most important relationships. At work, anger can hold us back from success. It can make us lose focus, make bad decisions, or even cost us our jobs if we can't control it. And let's not forget how anger steals our peace of mind. When we're angry, we can't enjoy the good things in life. We might be at a beautiful beach or a fun party, but if we're holding on to anger, we can't really be there. We're stuck in our heads, replaying whatever made us mad. If we don't learn to handle our anger, it can ruin our chances for happiness and success. It's like carrying a heavy weight everywhere we go, one that gets heavier the longer we hold on to it. But here's the good news. We don't have to carry that weight. We can learn to put it down, and that's where Buddhist teachings come in. Buddhism has been around for thousands of years, and in all that time, it's developed some pretty amazing insights into how our minds work. When it comes to anger, Buddhists have a unique way of looking at things. They see anger as a poison to the mind. Just like you wouldn't drink something you know is poisonous, Buddhists teach us not to drink the poison of anger. But Buddhism isn't just about saying, don't be angry. That's not very helpful, is it? Instead, Buddhist teachings offer practical ways to deal with anger when it shows up. These aren't complicated techniques that take years to master. They're simple ideas that anyone can use, starting today. In this video, we're going to look at 4 key Buddhist ideas that can help us overcome anger. These ideas are like different tools in a toolbox. Just like you might need different tools to fix different things in your house, these Buddhist tools can help us deal with anger in different situations. The first tool is mindfulness. This is about learning to pay attention to what's happening right now, including our thoughts and feelings. The second tool is compassion, which helps us care about others, even when they make us mad. The third tool is understanding impermanence, which reminds us that everything, including our anger, will pass. And the fourth tool is non-attachment, which helps us not hold on to things too tightly, including our own views. These might sound a bit strange right now, but don't worry. We're going to explore each one in detail, and I'll show you how to use them in real life. By the time we're done, you'll have a whole new way of looking at anger. You'll see it not as an uncontrollable force, but as something you can work with and eventually overcome. Remember, the goal isn't to never feel angry again. Anger is a normal human emotion, and it can even be useful sometimes. The goal is to learn how to handle anger in a way that doesn't hurt us or the people around us. It's about finding a way to deal with life's challenges without losing our cool. So, are you ready to discover these powerful Buddhist teachings? Are you ready to take control of your anger and find more peace in your life? Let's dive in and explore these life-changing ideas together. Trust me, by the end of this video, you'll have a whole new perspective on anger and how to deal with it. Let's start with mindfulness. This is a word you might have heard before, but what does it really mean? In simple terms, mindfulness is about paying attention to what's happening right now. It's about being aware of our thoughts, feelings, and what's going on around us without getting caught up in them. Think about the last time you got really angry. Chances are, it happened pretty quickly, right? One minute you were fine, and the next, you were fuming. That's because anger often sneaks up on us. We don't notice the little signs that we're getting upset until we're already in the middle of a full-blown anger storm. This is where mindfulness comes in. When we practice mindfulness, we get better at noticing our thoughts and feelings as they happen. It's like we're watching our own mind, but without judging what we see. This might sound a bit strange, but it's actually a really powerful tool for dealing with anger. Here's how it works. Let's say someone cuts you off in traffic. Normally, you might get angry right away, honking your horn and yelling. But if you're practicing mindfulness, you might notice the first signs of anger rising up. You might feel your hands tighten on the steering wheel, or your heart start to beat faster. You might notice thoughts like, "What a jerk," popping into your head. The magic of mindfulness is that just by noticing these things, you create a little space between the trigger, getting cut off, and your reaction, getting angry. In that space, you have a choice. You can choose to let the anger take over, or you can choose to respond differently. Now, this doesn't mean you'll never get angry again, but with practice, you'll get better at catching anger early, before it takes control. You might still feel annoyed when someone cuts you off, but you won't fly into a rage. You'll be able to take a deep breath, remind yourself that it's not worth getting upset over, and move on with your day. So how can you start practicing mindfulness? It's actually pretty simple. You can start right now, wherever you are. Take a moment to notice your breath. Feel the air moving in and out of your body. Notice any thoughts that pop into your head, but don't get caught up in them. Just let them pass by, like clouds in the sky. You can also practice mindfulness in your daily life. When you're eating, really pay attention to the taste and texture of your food. When you're walking, notice how your feet feel as they touch the ground. When you're talking to someone, really listen to what they're saying, instead of thinking about what you're going to say next. The more you practice mindfulness, the better you'll get at it. And the better you get at it, the more control you'll have over your anger. You'll start to see anger not as something that happens to you, but as something you can choose to engage with or not. When we think about anger, compassion might be the last thing on our minds. After all, when we're angry at someone, we usually don't feel very caring towards them. But in Buddhist teachings, compassion is actually a powerful tool for overcoming anger. So what do we mean by compassion? It's not just feeling sorry for someone. Compassion is about truly caring about others and wanting to help ease their suffering. It's about recognizing that everyone, even people who make us angry, are human beings who have their own struggles and pain. Now, you might be thinking, why should I care about someone who's making me angry? They're the one who's wrong. That's a totally normal reaction. But here's where Buddhist wisdom comes in. They teach us that when we're angry at someone, we're usually only seeing part of the picture. Let's say your friend is always late when you make plans. It drives you crazy, and you find yourself getting angry every time it happens. The compassionate approach would be to try to understand why they're always late. Maybe they're dealing with anxiety that makes it hard for them to leave the house. Maybe they're struggling with time management because of ADHD, or maybe they're going through a tough time at home that you don't know about. When we try to understand others, it becomes harder to stay angry at them. We start to see them as whole people, not just as the thing that's making us mad. This doesn't mean we have to accept bad behavior. We can still set boundaries and ask for what we need, but we can do it with understanding instead of anger. Practicing compassion doesn't just help us deal with anger towards others. It can also help us be kinder to ourselves when we're feeling angry. Often, we beat ourselves up for getting angry, which only makes us feel worse. But if we can approach our own anger with compassion, recognizing that it's a normal human emotion that everyone struggles with, we can start to let it go more easily. So how can we practice compassion, especially when we're feeling angry? One simple way is to use what Buddhists call loving kindness meditation. Here's how it works. First, think of someone you care about deeply. It could be a family member, a close friend, or even a pet. Imagine them clearly in your mind and silently repeat these phrases. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be safe. May you live with ease. Next, try directing these same phrases towards yourself. This might feel a bit awkward at first, but stick with it. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be safe. May I live with ease. Then, try directing these phrases towards someone you feel neutral about. maybe a neighbor you don't know well, or a cashier at a store you often visit. Finally, and this is the challenging part, try directing these phrases towards someone who's made you angry. You don't have to feel it deeply at first. Just the act of wishing them well, even if you don't really mean it yet, can start to shift your perspective. The more you practice this, the easier it becomes to feel compassion, even in difficult situations. You might find that the next time someone cuts you off in traffic, instead of getting angry, you think, I hope they're okay. Maybe they're rushing to an emergency. Compassion doesn't mean being a pushover or letting people treat you badly. It's about approaching difficult situations with understanding and kindness, both for others and for yourself. When we can do this, we often find that our anger starts to melt away on its own. But compassion is just one piece of the puzzle. To really master our anger, we need to understand another key Buddhist concept, impermanence. Let's explore that next. Now we come to one of the most fundamental ideas in Buddhist thought, impermanence. This might sound like a fancy word, but it's actually a pretty simple idea. Impermanence means that everything changes. Nothing stays the same forever. This is true for good things and bad things, big things and small things, and yes, even our anger. Think about it. Have you ever been really, really angry about something, but then a week later, or a month later, or a year later, it doesn't seem like such a big deal anymore? That's impermanence in action. Our feelings, even strong ones like anger, don't last forever. Understanding impermanence can be incredibly freeing when it comes to dealing with anger. When we're in the middle of feeling angry, it can seem like the anger will never end. It feels all-consuming, like it's taken over our whole world. But if we can remember that this feeling will pass, just like all feelings do, it can help us ride out the storm. Here's an example. Let's say you have a big argument with your best friend. In the moment, you might feel furious. You might think, this friendship is over. I'll never forgive them. But if you understand impermanence, you might be able to step back and think, okay, I'm really angry right now, but I know this feeling won't last forever. Maybe once I calm down, we can talk this out. Impermanence doesn't just apply to our feelings. It also applies to the situations that make us angry. That noisy construction project next door that's driving you crazy, it won't last forever. The coworker who always gets on your nerves? One day, one of you will move on to a different job. Even big, serious problems in our lives will change over time. Now, this doesn't mean we should just ignore things that make us angry. Sometimes anger is a signal that something needs to change. But understanding impermanence can help us respond to these situations with a clearer head, instead of just reacting out of anger. So how can we use this idea of impermanence in our daily lives? One simple way is to practice what Buddhists call noting. When you're feeling angry, try saying to yourself, anger is here right now. This simple act of naming the emotion can help you remember that it's just a temporary state, not a permanent part of who you are. You can also try this little exercise. The next time you're feeling really angry, set a timer for 5 minutes. For those 5 minutes, just sit with your anger. Don't try to push it away, but don't feed into it either. Just observe how it feels in your body. You might notice that even within those 5 minutes, the intensity of the anger changes. It might get stronger for a bit, then start to fade. This is impermanence in action, happening right inside you. Another powerful way to work with impermanence is to reflect on it regularly. At the end of each day, take a few moments to think about how your emotions change throughout the day. Maybe you woke up feeling grumpy, but by lunchtime you were laughing with friends. Maybe you got angry about something in the afternoon, but by evening you had calmed down. Noticing these natural shifts in our emotions can help us remember that no feeling, including anger, lasts forever. Understanding impermanence can also help us let go of grudges. Often, we hold on to anger long after the original event that caused it. We replay the situation in our minds, keeping the anger alive. But if we can remember that everything changes, we might be able to say, that happened in the past. It's over now. I can choose to let this anger go. It's important to note that understanding impermanence doesn't mean we become indifferent or stop caring about things. It's not about saying nothing matters because everything changes. Instead, It's about learning to flow with the natural changes of life, rather than fighting against them. It's about finding a sense of peace amidst the constantly changing nature of our experiences. Impermanence can be especially helpful when we're dealing with really big, overwhelming anger. You know those times when you're so angry you feel like you might explode? In those moments, try reminding yourself, this too shall pass. It might not make the anger disappear instantly, but it can help you hold on until the storm passes. Remember, the goal isn't to never feel angry. Anger, like all emotions, serves a purpose. Sometimes it motivates us to make important changes or stand up for ourselves. The goal is to not be controlled by our anger. Understanding impermanence helps us see anger for what it is, a temporary state, not a permanent identity. As we practice working with impermanence, we might start to notice something interesting. We might find that we're not just less controlled by our anger, but by our other emotions too. We might become more resilient in the face of sadness, more able to savor joy without clinging to it, more at peace with the ups and downs of life. This brings us to our fourth and final key from Buddhist teachings, non-attachment. This idea builds on everything we've learned so far and ties it all together. Let's explore how non-attachment can be the final piece in mastering our relationship with anger. Now let's talk about non-attachment. This is a big idea in Buddhism, and it can really help us deal with anger. Non-attachment doesn't mean not caring about anything. It's more about not holding on to things too tightly, including our own thoughts and feelings. Think about it like this. When we get angry, we often get stuck on one thought. Maybe it's he shouldn't have done that, or this isn't fair. We hold on to these thoughts so tightly that we can't see anything else. Non-attachment is about loosening our grip on these thoughts. Here's an example. Let's say your partner forgets your birthday. You might get really angry, thinking, they don't care about me. That thought can make you angrier and angrier. But if you practice non-attachment, you might be able to see that thought and say, okay, that's one way to look at it. But maybe there are other explanations. Maybe they've been really stressed at work and it slipped their mind. When we're less attached to being right or to seeing things only one way, we get angry less often. We're more open to other points of view. This doesn't mean we let people walk all over us. We can still say, hey, you forgot my birthday and that hurt my feelings. But we can do it without the extra anger that comes from being stuck on one way of thinking. So how can we practice non-attachment? One way is to notice when we're getting stuck on a thought. When you feel yourself getting angry, try to step back and ask, what thought am I holding on to right now? Just noticing this can help loosen its grip. Another practice is to try looking at situations from different angles. When something makes you angry, challenge yourself to come up with 3 different ways of seeing it. This can help you realize that your first angry thought isn't the only possible view. Remember, non-attachment takes practice. Don't get discouraged if you find it hard at first. The more you work at it, the easier it becomes. And as you get better at it, you might find that not only do you get angry less often, but you also feel more peaceful and open to life in general. Now that we've looked at all 4 Buddhist teachings, mindfulness, compassion, impermanence, and non-attachment, let's see how they work together to help us manage anger. Imagine you're stuck in a long line at the grocery store. The person in front of you is arguing with the cashier about a coupon. You feel anger rising. Here's how you might use all 4 teachings. First, mindfulness helps you notice that you're getting angry. You feel your jaw clenching and your thoughts racing. Just noticing this creates a little space between the trigger and your reaction. Next, you practice compassion. You think, maybe the person arguing about the coupon is having a really tough day. Maybe they really need that discount. This helps soften your anger. Then you remember impermanence. You think, this line won't last forever. In an hour, I probably won't even remember this. This helps you see the bigger picture. Finally, you practice non-attachment. Instead of getting stuck on the thought, this shouldn't be happening, you loosen your grip on how you think things should be. You realize you can choose how to respond to this situation. By using all 4 teachings, you've transformed what could have been an angry outburst into a moment of patience and understanding. You might still feel frustrated, but you're not overwhelmed by anger. The key is to practice these ideas regularly, not just when you're already angry. The more you work with them in your daily life, the more natural they'll become. Over time, you'll find that you're less easily angered, and when you do get angry, you can handle it more skillfully. Let me share a quick story about how these teachings helped me. A few years ago, I had a coworker who always seemed to take credit for my ideas. At first, I would get furious every time it happened. I'd go home angry, complain to my family, and dread going to work. But then I started applying these Buddhist teachings. I used mindfulness to notice when I was getting angry. I practiced compassion, trying to understand why my coworker might be acting this way. Maybe they were insecure in their job and felt they needed to prove themselves. I remembered impermanence, reminding myself that this situation wouldn't last forever. Either the behavior would change, or one of us would eventually move on to a different job. And I practiced non-attachment, loosening my grip on the idea that I needed recognition for every idea. I started to focus more on the satisfaction of doing good work, rather than getting credit for it. Did this make everything perfect? No, but it did make the situation much more manageable. I was able to address the issue with my coworker calmly, without the anger that had been building up. And even when things didn't change immediately, I was able to keep my peace of mind. Over time, I found that not only was I handling this specific situation better, but I was also less easily angered in general. These teachings had given me tools to deal with all sorts of frustrating situations in my life. That's the power of these Buddhist teachings on anger. They don't just help you in the moment when you're angry. They can actually change how you relate to anger and to life's challenges in general. With practice, you might find that things that used to make you furious now barely ruffle your feathers. Remember, the goal isn't to never feel angry. Anger is a normal human emotion, and sometimes it can even be useful. The goal is to not be controlled by anger. It's about having a choice in how you respond to situations, rather than just reacting out of anger. As you start to work with these teachings, be patient with yourself. Learning to manage anger is a process, and it takes time. You might still get angry sometimes, and that's okay. The important thing is that you're making an effort to understand and work with your anger in a healthier way. Try to practice these ideas a little bit each day. Maybe start your day with a few minutes of mindfulness meditation. Look for opportunities to practice compassion, even in small ways. Remind yourself of impermanence when you're facing challenges. And notice when you're getting attached to a particular way of thinking. Over time, you'll likely start to notice changes. You might find that you're able to catch your anger earlier, before it takes over. You might notice that you're able to let go of frustrations more easily. You might even find that you're generally calmer and more at peace, even when life gets chaotic. These Buddhist teachings have helped countless people over thousands of years to find peace and freedom from anger. They're not magic tricks that will instantly solve all your problems, but they are powerful tools that, with practice, can transform your relationship with anger and with life itself. So the next time you feel anger rising, remember these teachings. Take a breath, practice mindfulness. Try to find compassion for yourself and others. Remember that this moment and this feeling will pass. And see if you can loosen your grip on how you think things should be. You have the power to change your relationship with anger. It might not happen overnight, but with patience and practice, you can find a new way of being. A way that's more peaceful, more compassionate, and more free. And that's something truly worth working towards. Practical steps for anger management. Now that we've explored these powerful Buddhist teachings, let's talk about how to put them into practice in your daily life. Remember, managing anger isn't about never feeling angry. It's about learning to handle anger in a way that doesn't hurt you or others. First, let's start with a simple mindfulness exercise you can do anywhere, anytime. It's called the stop technique. S. Stop what you're doing. T. Take a breath. Focus on your breathing for a moment. O. Observe what's happening in your body, your thoughts, and around you. P. Proceed with awareness. This simple technique can create that crucial space between a trigger and your reaction. It gives you a moment to choose how to respond instead of just reacting out of anger. Next, try incorporating compassion into your daily routine. One easy way to do this is to practice what Buddhists call metta, or loving kindness meditation. Spend a few minutes each day sending kind thoughts to yourself, to loved ones, to strangers, and even to people who frustrate you. It might feel awkward at first, but over time, it can really shift your perspective. To work with impermanence, try this. At the end of each day, reflect on how your emotions change throughout the day. Notice how no feeling, good or bad, lasted all day long. This can help you internalize the idea that all emotions, including anger, are temporary. For non-attachment, practice questioning your thoughts. When you notice yourself getting angry, ask, is this thought really true? Is there another way to look at this situation? This can help loosen the grip of angry thoughts. Remember, these are skills that take time to develop. Be patient with yourself. Even small improvements can make a big difference in your life. As you start working with these Buddhist teachings, you might face some challenges. That's normal and it's part of the learning process. Let's look at some common obstacles and how to overcome them. One challenge many people face is forgetting to use these techniques in the heat of the moment. When anger flares up, it's easy to forget everything we've learned. The key here is practice. The more you work with these ideas when you're calm, the more likely you are to remember them when you're angry. Another common challenge is feeling like these techniques aren't working fast enough. You might try practicing compassion or remembering impermanence, but still feel angry. Remember, this is a process. It takes time to change habits of mind that we've had for years. Keep practicing, and you will see changes over time. You might also struggle with feeling like you're suppressing your anger or being fake by not expressing it. But remember, managing anger isn't about pretending you're not angry. It's about finding healthier ways to deal with anger. You can still acknowledge your anger and address problems, but in a calmer, more constructive way. Some people find it hard to feel compassion for those who have hurt them. If this is you, start small. Practice compassion for yourself first, then for loved ones, then for strangers. Gradually work up to feeling compassion for those who are more difficult. Lastly, you might face skepticism from others who don't understand what you're doing. They might encourage you to just get angry or accuse you of being passive. Remember, you're doing this for your own peace of mind. You don't need to convince anyone else. Just keep practicing and let the results speak for themselves. As you continue to work with these Buddhist teachings, you'll likely start to notice changes not just in how you handle anger, but in your overall well-being. Let's look at some of the long-term benefits you might experience. First, you'll probably find that your relationships improve. When you're not quick to anger, you're easier to be around. You might find that conflicts with loved ones, coworkers, or even strangers become less frequent and less intense. You might also notice improvements in your physical health. Chronic anger is linked to high blood pressure, heart problems, and a weakened immune system. As you learn to manage your anger, you may find that you feel physically healthier. Your mental health is likely to improve too. Constant anger is exhausting and can contribute to depression and anxiety. As you gain more control over your anger, you might find that you feel more peaceful and content in general. You could see benefits in your work life as well. When you're not controlled by anger, you're better able to focus, make decisions, and work with others. This can lead to better performance and more opportunities. Perhaps most importantly, you'll likely feel a greater sense of freedom. When you're not at the mercy of your anger, you have more choice in how you respond to life's challenges. This can give you a powerful sense of control over your own life. Remember, these benefits don't come overnight. They're the result of consistent practice over time, but the effort is worth it. By working with these Buddhist teachings, you're not just learning to manage anger, you're cultivating a more peaceful, compassionate, and balanced way of living. We've journeyed through some powerful Buddhist teachings on anger. We've explored mindfulness, which helps us notice our anger before it takes over. We've looked at compassion, which allows us to see beyond our anger to the humanity in others and ourselves. We've discussed impermanence, reminding us that no feeling, including anger, lasts forever. And we've delved into non-attachment, which helps us loosen our grip on rigid ways of thinking that fuel our anger. These teachings aren't just theories. They're practical tools that you can use in your daily life to transform your relationship with anger. Remember, the goal isn't to never feel angry. Anger is a normal human emotion. The goal is to not be controlled by anger, to be able to respond to life's challenges with wisdom and compassion instead of knee-jerk anger. As you begin to work with these ideas, be patient with yourself. Change doesn't happen overnight. You might still get angry sometimes, and that's okay. What matters is that you're making an effort to understand and work with your anger in a healthier way. Start small. Maybe begin with a few minutes of mindfulness practice each day. Look for opportunities to practice compassion, even in small ways. Remind yourself of impermanence when you're facing difficulties. Notice when you're getting attached to a particular way of thinking, and see if you can loosen that grip a little. Over time, you'll likely start to notice changes. You might find that you're able to catch your anger earlier, before it takes over. You might notice that you're able to let go of frustrations more easily. You might even find that you're generally calmer and more at peace, even when life gets chaotic. Remember, these Buddhist teachings have helped countless people over thousands of years to find peace and freedom from anger. They're not quick fixes, but they are powerful tools that, with practice, can transform not just your relationship with anger, but your whole approach to life. So the next time you feel anger rising, remember what you've learned here. Take a breath. Practice mindfulness. Try to find compassion for yourself and others. Remember that this moment and this feeling will pass. And see if you can loosen your grip on how you think things should be. You have the power to change your relationship with anger. It might not happen overnight, but with patience and practice, you can find a new way of being. A way that's more peaceful, more compassionate, and more free. And that's something truly worth working towards. Thank you for taking this journey through Buddhist teachings on anger. May these ideas bring more peace and understanding to your life. Remember, every moment is a new opportunity to choose how you want to respond to life. You've got this. Here's to a calmer, more compassionate future for all of us.